This happened about 2 years ago, true story. Me and my buddy out Innawoods. We camping. I took my guns with me because logics. Saiga 12 drum, because fuck redneck rapists. Greater than .44 Magnum, read above. Greater than .357 SNW. SVD scoped. Don't know the name anymore, it was some Russian shit though, PS so? Anyway, we're chilling / hiking / hunting, small game, SVD fuck you rabbits. Eating dat fresh rabbit at a campfire. Now my buddy, Frank, tells me he has never shot before. What? MFW, I'm Innawoods with 4 firearms with a guy that never shot before. I thought this was America. Anyway, I tell him we'll shoot some after we get some sleep. Next day. Teach him to shoot my .357. He handles it pretty well. See him glancing at my glorious Saiga. You want some, Frank? Explain to him how it works. He holds it. Hear rustling behind me. Look behind me. Fucking black bear. It's just curious, no harm done. Slowly whip out my .44 though. Frank hasn't noticed the bear yet. More rustling. Frank looks behind him. He's still holding the Saiga. Frank isn't used to the horrors of the outside. He freaks out. Mag dumps into the tree line. MFW drum. He's screaming fuck empty. Still trying to fire. Grab my precious Saiga out of his hands. No guns for you. Grab my SVD. Go look if the bear survived. Find numerous dead rabbits, birds, holes in trees. Give Frank the. This was you. Look every time we pass something. Take an hour to find the bear. Poke it with SVD to see if it's alive. Dead. Literally filled with holes. Frank. Is it dead? MFW. Took a while before Frank wanted to go out Innawoods again. Needless to say, I sent him straight to the local range to learn how to not kill half a forest.
Learn how to not kill half the forest. My sides.
This was you. Look every time we pass something. Oh god, how many animals did he shred with the Saiga? I counted about 9, that's including the bear. There could of course be more. 3 squirrels. 2 rabbits, 3 birds, 1 bear. He also fucking shreked some trees and branches. You get the idea. It sucks. I love animals / nature. But well, that's how life is, eh?
Amazed that someone didn't post it yet in countless /k/nope threads I've been in. Comes from very first /k/nope thread. Heading for Innawoods with a bunch of mates somewhere in Northern Europe. We decide to hike to this old abandoned Cold War military facility. Reach the facility after 2 days of hiking. Shit is cash. We spend the day exploring and plinking birds with .22s. By nightfall we set a camp in one of the empty warehouses. We go outside, set up a campfire and start making stew. All. A sudden we hear the loudest and weirdest roar I've ever heard. We all shit ourselves, grab our rifles and stare into the darkness. Something is moving about 100 meters out. We hear it rushing through the woods into the facility area. We stand there, silent, listening. Then it stops and suddenly it is dead silent all around us, just the stew slowly boiling on the fire. We look at each other and have a brief chat. We decide to carry on with making the stew. Next morning we wake up and start packing. Everybody is making jokes about how we got so scared of some bear, etc. My buddy sees something lurking on top of the biggest facility building. We try to have a look at what it is, but it's too far away, some 200 meters maybe. It is just standing there, with 2 legs, probably staring at us. The thing is huge, maybe over 7 feet tall. I reach for binoculars to have a good look on who is trolling us with ghillie suit just as I find the binos my mates start shouting. I look at the creature, or whatever it was, and it seems to be running via the facility wall like a lizard, very, very fast. By now it is clear it is not a human, nor any animal I know of. It disappears behind one big bunker structure. We decide to nope the fuck out of there. We're scared shitless even though it is day. As we are hiking back, we don't take any breaks before nightfall. As the sun sets down, we make a camp and start preparing supper. Everyone's a little tense and we try to joke around. I mean, very first /k/nope thread I was a part of. It's a very long one, someone may want to screen cap it. We decide to do guard duty during the night. My shift is 0103. Birds are singing like crazy. They do that during the night here, and I managed to see a lone rabbit hopping around our campsite. I would have popped that fucker, but I wanted to let my buddies rest. Suddenly the bird stops singing and the rabbit stops, raises its head like it's listening to something. The rabbit nopes out of there very fast like it's running for its life. I feel very uneasy and flick on my flashlight and shine it towards the darkness, hoping to see a glimpse of a fox, etc., that could have explained the strange behavior of the other animals, but the forest around us seems empty. Just as I'm putting the light out, I see something move behind the bushes around 100 meters away. It was something big. I shine the G, something moving there, and I believe I saw a pair of yellowish eyes directly at the bushes, and try to get a look off my 10/22 scope. I manage to see. Then it stands up. I don't know to this day what the fuck it was, but it was hairy looking, very dark, and had a face. The face of lighter color, and there were 2 yellow eyes. The thing was around 7 feet tall, somewhat human-shaped. Although I didn't get a very clear look with my shit-tier flashlight, I was 100% sure that that thing wasn't a human, so I started panicking, raised my gun and lit that fucker up. I emptied the whole 25 RD Butler Creek mag in about 3 seconds. I didn't even aim. My buddies woke up and started shouting, and it was all chaos for half a minute. I tried to tell them what had happened as fast as I could. Having dropped my flashlight, I didn't know if the creature had been hit or if it was there anymore. One of my buddies picked up the light and directed it at the direction I was pointing my gun at, and there it was, just standing. Suddenly the thing just kind of falls down and starts slithering at us, making no noise at all. We start screaming, grab our packs and guns, and start noping out of there. We must have ran like 10 kilometers straight up before taking a break. All of us were shaking. We didn't share a word. We walked the rest of the way to the public campground in DEFCON 1, weapons ready and listening to every crack. I've never been as happy as I was when I saw some German tourists grilling sausages by their RV. They were all like WTF when we exited the woods with guns in low ready stance. We said nothing, walked to our car, and drove away, breaking pretty much every speed limit on the way. We talked about the thing on the way home. None of us knew what it was, but everyone had seen it, and everyone was convinced that it was not a human nor a normal animal of any sort. We decided to stay away from the woods for a while. Problem is that the wildlife around here is scared of people, even children. And there hasn't been one bear sighting in over 80 years. Can't. The best is yet to come. Last summer we decided to be tough guys and find out what the hell that thing was. This time we would go with 3 ATVs, in case we would have to bail out fast. We took 2 cameras, 3 308s and 1 1276s with slugs. There were 4 of us, by the way, load of survival gear, and one of my buddies managed to get a Gen 2 NV camera. We also had 7 pipe bombs, black powder, and 2-inch iron tubing with caps at the end plus Visco fuse, in case shit got out of hand. Yeah, it was kind of lame fake operator tier shit, but we thought we'd get all famous and shit if we actually killed it or got footage of it. Anyways, we entered the woods with our gear and headed for the facility. Again, at the facility, everything looks normal and birds are singing again. No sign of anything abnormal. We decide to map the surrounding area and look for anything suspicious. Nothing was found. We made camp at the very same warehouse as we did the last time. Night falls and everything is still normal. We have guard shifts during the night, but nothing happens. Next day we start exploring the woods area around the facility. We find a peculiar pile of dead trees, looked like someone had hauled them there. We take a closer look. The trees are arranged in a fashion similar to a huge bird's nest. In the middle of the nest there is one half-rotten moose carcass and a shitload of different animal bones. We start quietly noping back to our campsite. We park our ATVs next to the warehouse we keep our camp in. We enter the camp warehouse and see our camping gear all torn up, the somewhat expensive cameras smashed to against the floor, food taken, and sleeping bags torn to pieces. We take everything we could in like a minute and start driving the hell out of Dodge. It's evening by the time we get back to public campground. A police officer stops us by the gates and checks our gun permits. Then the officer proceeds by asking whether we wanted to volunteer for a search operation. Our ATVs would be much appreciated. Some hiker had apparently gone missing in the nearby forest, 20 kilometers from the facility site. We look at each other and shake our head. One of my buddies quickly says something about being late, and we drive out of there. The dude who went missing was never found. We decided that we wouldn't go Innawoodsing in that part of the country anymore. No, he didn't, sadly. But there you go. Dude who went missing actually was found. Local police released it to the media.
Good to know. Off to the store for some hollow points and candles. I've already got some ash out back from a big bonfire I had a couple nights ago. Also, OC team. This one is from my senior year of high school, about 10 years ago. Be me. Just starting lurking on /k/. Really want to go Innawoods. Recently got my FID. SKS for my birthday, fuck yeah. Invite my only has guns friend along to go camping near Appalachian Trail. He says yes, brings a Winchester lever action in .30-30. Plan is to start up at northern part of Massachusetts, follow the trail south for 3 days. We brought plenty of food and fuel, not much water, as we plan to be near rivers most of the time. Buddy brought a harmonica. From now on, I'll call him John. We get dropped off near where we want to start and start hiking. Covering pretty decent ground for the first few hours. Slow down a bit after a quick lunch, still moving along pretty well. We stop for the night, set up our tent up. I start the fire, boil water we collected. John cooks up some of our food. Plays harmonica a bit. We're just sitting around the fire eating and talking. Bring up the fact that we haven't seen anyone all day. He shrugs it off, it's a bit shitty weather and cold, so it's not that strange. Put out the fire and we go to bed, sleeping with, unloaded, Rafus. We get up the next day, strike camp. Eat cold breakfast and start hiking again. Suddenly we hear loud footsteps coming up the trail behind us. Running really fast. We look behind us, figure it's a trail runner or a deer running from something. Ready rifles just in case. The second we turn around, the sound stops. We're a little weirded out, but continue along for a bit. I realize that the woods are quiet as fuck ever since we heard the running. Mention it to John. Relax man, it's almost winter. Most things are probably just hiding away in their burrows. Decide I'm just being a pussy. Ignore the silence. We stop for lunch near a stream, and John collects a bit of water from it. Sniffs at it to make sure it's semi-clean. Recoils. What the fuck? Anon, smell this water. Wary that he's gonna splash me in the face, I take it and smell it. Oh god, the zissiful.gif. Smells like rotten meat and piss. We follow the stream upriver to see if a dead deer or bear fell in and is rotting away in it. After a few minutes of walking, we come to a cave that the stream is flowing out of. John walks in right away. Hey, John. Wait a minute, we shouldn't dash. Oh, come on, Anon. I've got a flashlight and I'm not gonna fall in, so let's just check it out. Okay, I goose. I guess. Grab my own flashlight and my SKS. Following John into the cave. We come to a huge-ass cliff where the water falls down, not really a waterfall, but with E. It's smooth as hell, made of this really shiny black rock. Alright John, looks like we can't go any farther, let's go back. Okay, Anon. Just let me look over here, I thought I saw a Look at this, man. A staircase cut into the side of the cliff, barely visible unless you look straight at it. John immediately starts climbing up. I follow him, but I'm just about shitting my pants. We're about halfway up when suddenly we hear this voice. Help me. Help me. Help me. Help me. Just repeating the same thing over and over, in the exact same tone of voice, exact same inflection. It sounded like a broken record. The voice was creepy as fuck. It sounded like a human voice coming through a fucked up speaker, crackly at the edges and sort of deeper than it should be, obviously feminine. It's coming from the top of the cliff. John shouts up to it. Don't worry, we're coming for you. Just hold on. John, wait a goddamned minute. What the fuck, Anon? Are you just gonna walk away from somebody who might be stranded or hurt? No, but I don't think that dash. Then let's fucking go. He double times it up the stairs, rifle slung over his shoulder. Help me. Help me. Help me. Help me. Melly. Voice gradually getting louder and more distorted. He's going a lot faster than I am. That's what saves me. He gets to the top of the stairs. Shines flashlight toward the sound. Ma'am, are you? Top's talking. Suddenly stops. I'm just a flight below the top, I can hear him walking. Sounds really jerky. But steady. Like a metronome or something. Eps suddenly stop. Steps. At the exact same time, the voice stops yelling for help. I just barely hear John whisper. Of course, whatever you need. Crunching noise, sound of dripping liquid. Help me. Help me. Help me. Help me. It's a different W voice, and it takes me a second to recognize it. It's John's voice. Oh shit niggers.mp3. Fucking sprint out of there. It's a miracle I didn't break my neck on those fucking steps. Managed to contact a friend who was going to pick us up in 2 days. Tell him something got John freaking out. He calls the cops/forest department. Tells me I have to meet them near a ranger station, at a small town. I manage to get out of the woods, meet up with cops. I claim a bear ate him. Lots of questioning, realize they think I might have murdered him. Finally break down and tell this old grizzled ranger dude what really happened when we're alone. He just nods. There's some strange things what happen up in those mountains. Might be I'll head up there soon and take care of it. What the fuck? Is this guy serious? He smiles at me, and nods toward the wall of his office at the ranger station. A bunch of mounted skulls. They look like fucked up deer/moose/goat heads. Curvy horns, long jaw bones, huge ass eye sockets. Now, I'm off to go kill that bear of yours. I'll make sure them city boys know that you didn't do nothing. I'm sorry about that friend of yours. Gee, good hunting. Thank ye kindly. I still can't get over it, especially since about 2 weeks after that, the paper printed a story about an individual who wished to remain nameless, that had taken down a rabid grizzly not too far off the Appalachian Trail.
Doing a/K/Summer Innawoods challenge. Stalker challenge. Gotta chill in the woods with vodka and a harmonica/guitar for 48 hours within like 50 feet of a broken down building. Go out into the woods, brought SKS and Glock with me. Spend first half of first day exploring, find a nice abandoned concrete structure of sorts. Set up camp nearby it, make a fire. Got some small game on the way in with my sling, start skinning that bitch. Damn tasty. Hear some rustling, and it sure as hell isn't my jimmies because this rabbit is damn good. Put hand on rifle, scan the forest in front of me and behind me. Solid 5 minutes pass, put guard down and go back to jamming on harmonica. Next day, wake up to screaming. Eyes shoot open, grab SKS. Silence, absolute fucking silence. Storm clouds are gathering. Blowout sunstalker.jpg. Starts dripping, decide to head in the direction I heard the scream. Spend at least an hour searching. Got lost as fuck. Eventually find my way back to camp, pretty tired. It's raining like crazy. See a guy just standing over my fire, looking at the smoldering ashes. I get a bit shaken. Hey man. His head fucking snaps up to look at me. Raise my gun, freak out. He doesn't even flinch at all, in fact looks really curious. You lost man. He doesn't respond. He smiles. Do you need some help? His clothes looked a bit tattered, but there was no wounds on him or anything. It was really strange. He looks like he just got run over by a fucking truck without the truck part. Mexican standoff.jpg. Greater than 30 seconds-ish later. You're kind of worrying me, bro, are you okay? He finally speaks. I wouldn't worry about it. Fucking nope.jpg. I could go for another meal right now though. Another. I didn't leave any food by the fireplace. Suddenly all of my /k/ experience starts rushing back. Fucking nope out of there so hard. Don't even try to be subtle, just turn and run. Can hear him running after me. Turn and start shooting blindly. Hear a scream. It sounds exactly like the scream I heard before, the exact same pitch, exact same tone, everything. To finally reach a road. Tumble down a hill onto it. Run across it and turn around, gun limp at my side. See a figure by some trees up there. Heavy fucking breathing. Lights of a car coming. It looks at it, and then runs away back into the woods. My fucking face when. Fuck this goddamn shitty ass state, god fucking damn it.
Alright, feel a little silly even writing it down, but here we go. My supernatural encounter. Be me, 17. Dad loves to hunt, always go with him. We've had a real bad string of not getting drawn. After another year of not getting drawn, Dad just buys some expensive tickets to hunt on local res. Kind of a splurge, but it was on my dad and he could afford it. Super beautiful land. Keep spotting deer all over, no elk, only got tags for elk. I'm okay with it. My favorite part of hunting is just walking around and spending time with my dad. He was a surgeon when I was a kid, so I spent a lot of my childhood not really knowing who he was. Really just came home to eat or sleep. Anyway, we walk around all week, and it runs me ragged. We get to a nice meadow one day and my dad says he's gonna take a nap in the shade. Tells me to keep an eye on the meadow, elk wander into them all the time. Just chilling out in the beauty when I see some movement. Peek at it through my scope, just another herd of deer. Take my finger off the trigger. I know, I shouldn't have even put it on the trigger before I knew what I was looking at. I'm safer now, and just watch him through the scope. Few minutes later, deer scatter. Just fucking bolt. Absolutely terrified. Weird, but neat. Maybe another predator is nearby? Not too worried, my gun is honestly stupidly big, even for elk, mostly just curious. Wait to see more movement. Eventually, I see something move across the clearing. Look through scope at it. It's just another deer. Looks a little bit funny, but not like Fallout bad. Just a little gangly? Moves a little funny too. Deer are real graceful, this thing just kind of bumbles. Honestly just assumed it was real young or something. It walks a little more into the clearing then stops. Looks directly at me through the scope. Already a little bit weird. I'm a good 400 meters out and in the shade, it shouldn't be able to see me and it shouldn't be able to catch any lens glare. Part 2. Part 2. Deer rears back on its hind legs, and the front legs just like, twist. I've seen deer on their hind legs before, but they can't put their front legs at their sides like humans can. This fucking thing does. Posture still isn't human cause deer don't have a center of weight like that, but it can put its fucking hooves at its side and it just stands and looks at me. Then it bolts across the clearing. Even then it's on two legs, even though it looks ridiculous, it's moving way faster than normal deer. If I had to eyeball it, I'd say this freak hit 30-ish. Get a long period to look at it. 20 seconds at least. Got that super forward-leaning sprint of sprinters, but it's a deer on two legs. It's not moving towards me, it's just headed across the clearing. Don't know why I didn't shoot it, I think part of my brain was still worried about the elk versus deer tag thing. Sounds really dumb saying it out loud, but I wasn't really worried, I was just baffled and kind of grossed out after it's gone. Tell my dad about it. He thinks I must have hallucinated it. I had only slept about 4 hours a night for the last 3 nights. I was a major insomniac in HS and sleeping anywhere but my house made it a lot worse. We walk out to the meadow to look for food prints. All we find is the pair of prints from where I saw it on 4 legs, nothing from the 2-legged stage. Only weird detail is that the areas that it went through had a weird smell that both me and my dad noticed. Like old pennies and bleach. It was weird. I'm an atheist, so I generally don't put a lot of stock in the supernatural, but I gotta admit, that night shook me up. Weird shit.
Alright, I'll post one of my own stories to keep the thread alive. I'm not gonna green text it because the story is a little long. So, a little bit of background. This happened about 8 years ago in Leafland, on Vancouver Island, where I moved with my mom for a short period of time when I was 12. Her side of the family lived on the island, while we lived on the mainland. Now, my grandfather was in the army when he was alive, and he left quite a few guns behind. Sadly, I wasn't old enough to go hunting with him while he was still alive. Okay, onto my story. It was summer break, and I had just graduated from elementary school. After the shitty little ceremony, my mother told me that my Uncle John wanted to take me hunting. I had shot a rifle a few times before, but this would be my first time ever actually shooting at a living thing, so I was pretty nervous, but also a little excited. The day finally arrived and my uncle picked me up in his truck. We were going to a pretty big stretch of woods, and we would be camping there for 3 days. The only supplies we had with us were some basic rations, water, and 3 rifles. I'm not exactly a /K/Amando, so I can't really tell you the make and model of them, but I know we had 2.22s and 1.308. From my experience with shooting the 308 and getting knocked on my ass, I asked my uncle what we needed such a powerful gun for. He said it was just in case we saw a bear, but something in his voice told me he wasn't telling me the whole truth. My grandfather was a very spiritual man, and I'm inclined to believe that he passed down some of his stories and beliefs to his children. My mother has had an OBE and seen a few ghosts, but those are different stories for another day. I'm half Cree Aboriginal on my father's side, so I had heard stories of the things that stalk the Canadian wilderness. We unpacked our stuff and started looking for a good spot to set up camp. After about a half hour of searching, we found the perfect spot of flat earth. We set up camp and loaded our rifles before heading out to try and bag a deer or something. The first day was completely uneventful, and we ended up just catching some fish with sharpened sticks and ate those. I had a feeling I would be sick of fish by the end of this. I'm a fairly light sleeper, so it's no surprise that I woke up in the middle of the night. I rubbed my eyes and sat up in my tent, realizing I had to piss. I moved to unzip my tent flap, but stopped as I heard something outside. I heard the sound of footfalls, and quiet, ragged breathing. Like an idiot, I assumed it was my uncle and slowly zipped down the flap on my tent. I zipped it down just enough for me to peek outside to see if my uncle was still out there, as I needed privacy to pee. What I saw out there was not my uncle. It probably stood at about 7 feet, as it was taller than our tents, and had oily black fur that glistened in the moonlight. I let out a low whimper and slowly zipped my tent back up. The breathing stopped for a second, and then started to get closer. When it was mere inches away from my tent, the breathing stopped. For a few seconds, I thought the thing had left, and I just didn't hear it because I was so afraid. Then, it began to press its face against my tent. Judging from the outline, it had a muzzle that was slim like a fox, but it was much longer. It was at this point that I noticed how much this thing reeked. Being a sheltered city kid, I had never had to smell anything dead before, but as I've come to learn, that's what the thing smelled like. It smelled like the corpse of a skunk that was left to bake in the summer sun for a week. I curled up in my sleeping bag and covered my head, hoping it would leave. After what felt like an eternity, the thing skulked back into the woods. At this point, I no longer needed to pee. After changing my pants and getting a restful half hour of sleep, my uncle came to wake me up. As we went to leave, he stopped and looked at the side of my tent. Danny, what the hell is that stain? I asked him what he was talking about, and he pointed to a slightly red stain on the side of my tent. It looked like saliva. My uncle went up to the stain and tried to get a whiff of it. He stood up and crinkled his nose before going and retrieving the .308. I didn't bother asking why. I wasn't having fun anymore. I just wanted this trip to be over and go home, but my uncle wanted to at least stay for one more day. That day, we actually ended up killing something. My uncle borrowed my .22 and shot a goose right out of the sky. I was pretty impressed and excited that we would be eating something that wasn't fish. I was pretty disappointed when I learned that the goose had been mainly eating fish and ended up tasting like them. My uncle had been pretty quiet the whole day, so I was surprised when he looked at me and asked, "Danny, have you ever seen something that you just can't explain? Something that shouldn't exist in this world?" I lied and said no, but I'm sure he didn't believe me. "I'm going to go try and get us something for dinner, but I'm going alone. Don't follow me. If I'm not back within an hour, call the police on my phone." After that, he set up a fire and left. I began to get impatient, so I started looking for games to play on his phone. It was a shitty little BlackBerry, so the best I could get was solitaire. However, I didn't get to play long before I heard rustling in the brush near the fire. I grabbed my .22 and aimed toward the noise and saw the creature from before. It made frantic gibbering noises, like it was trying to communicate, before running away from the camp, leaving a trail of black blood behind it. It turned out that my uncle had shot the thing, but it ended up running away. About a half hour later, my uncle came back to camp, covered in cuts and bruises. "Come on, let's pack up our stuff, we're leaving." I asked why, and he told me it wasn't safe there anymore. We drove back to my place in relative silence, until he dropped me off and drove back the way he came. My uncle never came out of those woods, and his body hasn't been found. I miss that old bastard.
I'm a proud father of 2 boys. Oldest one recently turned 14. It's time I should take him hunting. We've been going out shooting almost every weekend. I'm sure he's ready for his first deer. He's excited. Go to bed early, wake up early. Grab a couple cups of coffee, let the boy have a soda, get our gear, and out we go. Drive to a remote location I've scouted out before. Sunlight burning off the morning mist. God, I love it out here. Tell him to stay close and mind his steps. Gotta be somewhat quiet. After about a quarter-mile hike into the woods I hear something. Asterisk crunch, crunch, crunch asterisk. I stop and listen. The sound stops as well. "Did you hear something, Dad?" He's beaming, thinking there's a buck close by. "Not sure, sounded like something heavy." "Stay close." My words made him worry a little. But we're still focused on getting him that deer. Continue on our hike. Carefully surveying the surrounding. I hear it again. Asterisk crunch, crunch, crunch asterisk. It's matching our stride. Turn around quick enough to see someone dip behind a tree. I pull the rifle off my shoulder. Who's there? I'm assuming it might be another hunter, but I'm cautious. A man's head peeks out behind the tree and pulls back real quick, just barely caught a glimpse of his scraggly hair. My boy responds. "Who is it? Does someone else know your favorite spot, Dad?" He's still timid at his age. "Probably might be a homeless man. There could be a camp around here with a few more of them." My boy is defiantly calmer than I am, not knowing how dangerous a man or group of people can be when you're alone in the woods. I'm now more worried about my kid's safety than getting his first kill. "We should head back." This made him upset, but he seemed to understand. "Oh, alright, I guess." He defiantly had some attitude though. Too much like his mom. We walked and looped back to the car to avoid any contact with the stranger. As we're nearing the road, I hear the crunching steps again. Asterisk crunch, crunch, crunch asterisk. Then, a loud thud. I give a quick peek over my shoulder, not stopping to look. There's the head of the man I saw laying on the forest floor next to a tree. My heart sinks into my stomach. I rush my boy along quicker. "Come on, we have to get back to the car right now." I grabbed him by the back of his neck, literally pushing him as fast as I can through the trees. "Oh, you're hurting me." I was in full panic mode. Didn't mean to hurt or startle him, but I didn't want him to turn around either. We make it to car and I quickly turn around. Rifle in my hand, my eyes are darting around the tree line. As if at any moment whatever killed that man and used his head like a puppet would jump out, I tossed the keys to my boy. "Unlock the car and start it." He's now visibly frightened at how I'm reacting. Car fires up, and I hop in as quickly as I humanly could. Put the car in reverse and I hear my boy jump. "Dad! Dad! Look! It's the man!" My eyes lift up to the tree line. There's that man's head peeking out behind a tree. An arm extends out from behind it. He's waving. It's not natural movement. It's flopping around like somebody's holding it. Nope, the fuck out of there. Drive home doing 80 miles per hour the entire way. I'm sweating with fear. My boy sounds like he's having a panic attack. It's alright, son, we're long gone now. His eyes are wide open, glued to the road. I felt horrible for him. We made it home and I phoned the police, told them everything. They searched the area and found nothing, just some trash left behind by campers. No matter what they tell me, no matter how many years have passed, I'll never return to those woods again.